Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I look like I just got hit by something. Okay, then. I'm Abby Haggard, and my hair has decided to go on mutiny patrol. Here we are. It's Thursday. It is the 6th of March. There have been so many things going on lately in the news and all around us that it is very, very overwhelming and distracting, hence my kerfuffle. So we're going to pause just for a second, just so I get everything where I need to be. And cheers, my lovelies. All right, then. The most amazing things that present themselves to us usually make us really excited. And then as we dig into the what has to happen first, second, and 43rd, we begin to have our little moments of uncertainty. It's normal. For every action, there's a reaction. And good morning, Daniel. How nice to see you. So, the conversation that I want to have today, because so many things kind of fall away right at the moment when they're about to start. And it's so frustrating, it's so exhausting, it's so upsetting when those kind of lags hit us. And one of the terrible side effects of that is that we start blaming ourselves for whatever happened, and that's not really very helpful. So because I do uh, a lot of things in kind of a rotation. I get ready for something, I build for something, and I check all the bases, and then I launch. And I'm never really just launching one thing for one reason. I'm sorry, you can see this things to come. Anyway, so I wanted to talk to you about our expectations and our second guessing, because really second guessing should be the title of what's going on. When I wrote the title today for this morning's video, how many big deals that get in the way are really stalling tactics. What is it that we get all fluffed out about that really isn't worth the time? What are we really doing to ourselves? That was the conversation this morning. Now, just before we get into full momentum, I want to double back for those of you who are joining us. We're getting a bunch of new people, and I'm so excited and I'm so grateful. And I have to remind myself that I've been kind of doing this every week for a while now, and I need to always keep myself in step with the people who are just joining in. So back in the beginning of this, I had what I feel is a really fun, cool, important, interesting, exciting new project idea. And then COVID came along, and it gave me a lot of time to really delve and think and deep dive into what I wanted to do. And the project just got more and more exciting the longer I looked at it, the longer I thought about it. And so I decided that since I hadn't been doing anything on camera for a while, I'd mostly been backtracking, and I was writing a lot of books for people and advising a lot of people on rethinking which way they want to face. And I thought, okay, so what I need to do is get back on camera, do it in an inexpensive and easily accessible way, and let people find me and say, oh my gosh, I remember her, I remember those things, I remember that she was always talking about this, that, or the other. And so we could refresh, we could reset our friendship from years ago. For those of you who aren't sure, because this has kind of come at you from left field, there's a costume on a mannequin behind me here. And this costume, which I created, was for a character who appeared on a television series that nobody thought was going to go anywhere. It was made in Ottawa, very small, very back road kind of production, but it got picked up, and it got picked up by a fledgling, emerging distribution company. And in case it's not sort of a known thing for you, people make shows, but then we have to distribute the show. People make a product, but they have to have somebody get it to market, get it to the buyer. There are trucks, there are retail stores, there are ways that we distribute the product itself directly into the hands of the consumer. In television and in film, those distribution exercises are done by companies that's what they do. So they pay the owner of the show a licensing fee, permission to be the one to say, hey, want to buy a watch? And that's how we met Nickelodeon when it was just a baby. And it said that we would like to have this kind of as our flagship. And our producer, Roger Price, said, okay, let's do it. And then Nick did an amazingly crazy smart thing. They sub-licensed us to the US Armed Forces Network. And what that meant was, good morning, Freddie. What that meant was instant broadcast to every American military base around the world. For every military family who is far-flung, they dedicate one channel in broadcasting in American programming. We didn't have a lot of programming on Nick at the time. We were pretty much in rotation with, I don't know, Bugs Bunny or something, 24/7. So by the time those families got stationed back home, the kids, they want to know where they can see this show. And Nickelodeon exploded. It just exploded. So everybody wins. So anyway, that's Mom, Valerie Prevert. And in and amongst the time when we were doing You Can't Do That on Television, we were also creating for Hasbro, we were creating the Care Bears. And for Deke Animation down in Los Angeles, we were creating Teddy Ruxpin. And for the Syndicate, the cartoon comic book syndicate, we were creating Lynn Johnson's For Better For Worse in studios in Ottawa. So I was voicing and I was momming like there was no tomorrow. So that's where all of that backstory comes from. My work, narrating documentaries, doing all that kind of stuff. My work, I was one of the staples. I was one of the people you just hire to get stuff done. And then, ebb and flow. And so now I'm back in Ottawa. I've been away for quite a few years. I'm back in Ottawa with this really great project idea. And the whole idea behind it is to help people who really weren't equipped to understand how different everything was going to feel after essentially uncertain isolation. We're okay during the pandemic. And so I have this program and I have some live shows and I have some really high energy, fun training that is all going to come together to give people an opportunity to get their chops back, to get themselves back the way they were. And I'm looking forward to it. It's the kind of program that I've always done with performers who've been away from the stage or the bright lights for a while. And it just gets us back on track. It's like joining the gym, really, just to get fit and feeling fabulous. So that is why this is why you're here. All right. So with all of that said, two things are always going on. Always, all the time. Awake and asleep. The part of our brain that is, the back is survival, real primitive brain, really old, pre-verbal, just fight, flight, freeze, hide. That's it. Keeps us alive. Operates 95% of what keeps us vertical and blinking. The rest of the brain, all this front stuff, has over our evolution been kind of segmented into thinking and planning and doing. And the very, very front part is the part that gets developed last. It's called the prefrontal, because there's frontal and now there's prefrontal. It's called the prefrontal cortex. And this is the part that understands cause and effect. It develops late. It develops very late teens, sometimes in the 20s, sometimes later. And if you've had any kind of a really significant trauma, it can take much longer to develop, because cause and effect comprehension is very much a cool-headed function. If you're running around screaming, you're juggling flaming chainsaws, something terrible happened that you didn't see coming. that can delay this calm, cool, collected, rational, arm's length, big picture assessing process. So we have keep me alive, plan for things, organize things, prioritize things. That's basically how the brain works. The thing that goes on all the time, that goes on all the time, this goes on all the time. But the other thing that goes on all the time is the question that all of these different brains ask all the time. And the question is this: what's in it for me? I call it the Whiffum song. Do you know the Whiffum song? What's in it for me? I add today because everything changes, right? So what's in it for me? What's in it for me today? What's in it for me right this minute? That's prioritizing. However, what we don't pay attention to enough, that we are perfectly capable of paying attention to more, we just need to learn how, is the other side of that question. And the other side of that question is, what's in it for them? Now, I wrote a business book and I got it published in 2006, had a big fight with the publisher and pulled the book away. And I'm going to republish it. I want to update it with all the current stuff in terms of, the way we connect and communicate and engage changed dramatically, and changes constantly with the evolution of different tools and toys and techniques, right? So with a book published in 2006 for marketing and communications, it's vastly different now. So it's in its updating kind of phase. So and the book was called Market Centrics. Find out what they want and give it to them. Marketing 101. Second corollary, make them glad they came. Don't give it to them and annoy them. Make them glad they came. Why? Because then they'll come again. So in the concept of what's in it for them, it goes like this. What's in it for me is that I've always wanted a pink dress, let's say. What's in it for me is, oh, look, there's a pink dress on sale. What's in it for me is it's really expensive, but I've always wanted a pink dress and it's very important to me. And so I buy the dress and I'm so excited and I put it on. And I rush over to my best friend's house to show her the dress because it's the best, most exciting thing I've done for me in a while. I knock on the door. She opens the door. She's soaking wet. She's covered in mud. And she's got a huge tear in her jeans. Now I have two choices. I can say, well, you look like hell. What do you think of my dress? Or that's what's in it for me. Or I can say, good heavens, what's happened? What can I do to help? That's what's in it for them. I went to the house to talk about the dress. She and I together, best friends, have been talking about a pink dress for, I don't know, years. She will be almost as excited as I am when she realizes that I finally found it. Except not today. Why not today? Well, wet, mud, torn clothing. Something has gone wrong. Probably I won't have her undivided attention if I want to talk about my dress. So why don't we put what's in it for me over here? And why don't we focus on what's in it for them? What's in it for her? What's in it for her that I can help bring, fix, calm, soothe? What can I do that makes her immediate, whatever that is, a little bit better? That is a shift. Me, them. We, they. There are always two parts in any equation. If you write a book, there has to be a reader. If you start a journey, there has to be a destination. You begin with an end in mind. And how we navigate that path is our critical thinking. When the big deals come along that get in the way, of what's in it for me and what's in it for them. It's very easy and important to assess the urgency and respond. It's also very important to weigh what we're looking at, very carefully assess the urgency, and shift the way we respond. This is critical thinking at its best. So how do we know when a big deal is just a stalling tactic? There are 3 little words that we can use as a checklist that are really helpful. I use them all the time. It's really important. Okay, hang on a second. Primitive survival brain is programmed to resist change. Because if it ain't broke, if we're in the cave and the saber-toothed whatnots are outside the cave, that's good. We're good. Where are you going? So resistance is huge. Resistance is a survival tactic. Resistance to change is cautionary. I want to know if it's a good idea before I leap. What is that expression? Look before you leap. Think before you act. So resistance is, give me a minute. Let me think about this. And then function. The second R, there's 3 of them. The second R is readiness. I had a conversation yesterday with with my fabulous client, Susan. And then, big surprise, lovely, happy surprise, her son, whose career path took a real interesting turn a few years back. And I was very privileged to be part of the brainstorming with Susan and with him to discuss, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? Where the hell did that come from? And so I haven't talked to him in a long time, and many, many changes have come into his life. And so we got to have this amazing update conversation on some big, big shifts in his life, his career, and his relationships. It was magical. It was a complete surprise. And we were talking about resistance and readiness. And ironically, that's what we're here doing now today. And what he said was that he had been, when he was younger, he was ready to flow with the tide. He didn't really know what he wanted. He didn't really have anything invested. And so he just kind of let the group decide, and he just kind of went along. However, with time, it was beginning to bug him. It was beginning to get in the way. He was beginning to not enjoy how he felt just floating. He was getting to an age where, it's fine. It's okay. It's just, that kind of thing that we're doing in our heads when we're not sure why, but we're not entirely comfortable anymore. Something has shifted in here when we weren't looking. And so when he and I had our conversations back and forth years ago, it's like 5, it's not 55. And he said, I realized that I was just doing the same thing I had done because I had done it, not because I wanted to do it. I was on autopilot. It was a habit, and I didn't mind it, but I wasn't crazy about it. It was the life of least resistance. But then gradually, as this executive function thinking was coming into focus for him, he realized that the outcome, if I do this, I get that, his outcomes were less and less exciting, appealing, spike the balling. And then one day, something he didn't tell me the details of, he said, no, I'm done. And the next time I was on a call with his mom, he jumped in and he said, "So I wanted to tell you, I've made a big decision. I've cut off this, I've stopped that. I'm no longer hanging around with those people. I've signed up for this and I've set my sights on that." And I said, "Wow, what happened?" And he said, "I guess it was just brewing in the back and I didn't see it. And all of a sudden, there it was, fully formed. And I looked at it and I said, 'I choose you.'" And he did. And I said, "How's it feeling?" And he said, I'm getting a lot of blowback. I'm getting people saying, the thing is that I'm so excited about where I'm going." And I said, "Okay, if you ever have any second thoughts, check in with me first before you do anything in a kind of a, maybe I made a mistake. Check in with me." And he said, "Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is why I wanted to tell you what I've done." And so this is like this young man is suddenly right there, present, fully functioning in the driver's seat. So what we were talking about yesterday, after all these years, was that he is still very, very involved with people who are ready to jump right now. He loves that about people. That's his immediate attraction thing. He loves that. He loves the vitality of it, the spontaneity of it, the excitement of it. However, he's not that guy. He's not a jumper. He's a thinker, and he's test the resistance band and see exactly how much slack I've got and how much safety I've got. And he's very, very measured in his decisions. And he said, I've got some big decisions surrounding me. And I went with one of them, but then I had second thoughts, and I sat down and I wrote myself a letter, and I read the letter to me, and he said, "Yeah, I realized that my testing the waters is still working. It's in good working order." And then he said, "And then Mom said she was going to talk to you, and I wanted to jump on the call and let you know how I am and where I'm going and what this was and get your reaction," which is very it's wonderful when somebody does that, because it means that something comforting the downtrodden. Well, there's that, right? There's that. Um, the opportunity to shift is very exciting. Right up until that hesitation, right up until just before we take the step. And the hesitation is the uncertainty about the outcome. And in this case, this lovely young man had felt that uncertainty, didn't want to let people down, loved their enthusiasm. However, fortunately, he had remembered how good it felt for him to take a stand and draw his line in the sand previously. And it wasn't a "never darken my door," it was a heart-shaped line. I love you. I'm going to love you from afar because I'm going to do this. This is how I'm wired. Love you. Stay in touch, but I'm not doing that. And so here he had this opportunity again. So the second R, the first one is resistance to change. No, it's different. No. The second one is readiness. Are we? I don't know. Am I? Am I? Am I? Am I? And that is what can get in the way. And the third R is reward. Resistance, readiness, reward. Reward is a two-edged experience. Reward is something we've worked for, we've set as our goal, and we see it coming closer, and we're excited. That's one side of reward. The other side of reward is the part we don't see coming. And I have a really, really good analogy to share with you in a second. Reward brings with it responsibility. And when we look at the reward and we say to ourselves, do I deserve it? Do I deserve the receiving of it? Do I deserve the responsibility that comes with it? And what is hidden in all of that is a very common mindset. It's an emotional glitch, and it's called the imposter syndrome. And the imposter syndrome is a deep seated, we don't even know it's there, that part of us doesn't think we're worthy, that we earned it, that we deserve it for whatever reason. Usually it's a product of 3 or 4 disconnected things, past memories not really sorted through, all that clutter in our mental attic, right? And we hear stories of very successful people who rocketed to the top and then self-destructed. We see it all the time. Now, sometimes they self-destruct after they have been traumatized by something awful, but a lot of the time there isn't an external. It's themselves tearing themselves apart. So that's on the fame scale. You see the big names in the news. But on any other scale, a person who works really hard gets a promotion, gets a bigger promotion than they had expected. And very, very quickly after the promotion, they start doing really self-destructive stuff. They start partying too hard, wasting their money, hanging out with unhealthful people, making rash decisions. And you look at what they're doing and you think, it's almost like they want to fail. It's almost like they don't think they deserve this success. And if they're lucky enough to sit down with somebody that they trust and they're willing to listen to, and they can get down to the root of the problem, it is typically because the reward, the size of the reward, completely blindsided them. They were ready for people to say, hey, well done. They weren't expecting a parade. They weren't expecting to see their name every 15 minutes on the news cycle. And they hadn't prepared for it. They don't like it. It's the opposite of claustrophobia. It's like there's nothing to hang on to. There's no safe, quiet space where I can just be me. And so there's a lot of ripple effect that goes on when we make a decision, when we do something that matters to us. There's a lot of ripple. Some of it is great, but for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Some of it's great, therefore there will be some that's not so great. And one of the things that then happens to us, if we're not paying attention to this, if we don't understand that there's a pattern of behavior, and it's not what's wrong with Abby. No, all humans do it. All animals do it. We involve more conscious thinking, probably, than many animals who are working on the pure, survival mechanism. Good morning, Rhea. And what is this? Something there is a weird thing. How are you, Rhea? What we want to talk to and think about today is, when is it a big deal? And when is it really not a big deal? And we're using it as a stalling tactic. Why are we getting in our own way? What are we doing? Are we paying attention? Do we understand where this is taking us? That's the conversation today, because boy, oh boy, on the news feeds, in the conversations, in the energy you walk sideways into right now, there's a lot of concern, confusion, exhaustion, overwhelm. And if we have really important stuff to do, we need to have an easy tool to put up the shields up, so that we can continue on our path, not ignoring, but keeping ourselves with a buffer, keeping ourselves safe. We're a little rowboat, big cigarette boat goes by, and there we are, right? Did we prepare for that? This is what we're doing today. I'm showing you how to prepare for that. When we have a great idea and the size of the outcome is more than we expected, we go through resistance, readiness, and reward stages of responding to all these waves that we create. Great idea, drop the stone in the pond, boosh, all the ripples. Resistance, oh no. Readiness, all right. Reward, oh, I don't know. Thank you. I'd like to thank the big people and the little people. This is how we check. This is how we check. This is how we check the onset and the onslaught of the guilting and the confusion and the shaming and the blaming and the undoing all the good that we've begun. This is the gut check. Ready? What I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what my inclination is to do. Right? What's in it for me if I do that? What's in it for me if I do that? What's in it for me if I do that? What's in it for me if I stop? What's in it for me if I reset? What's in it for me if I walk away? What do I get? I worked this hard. I did all this. I told everybody that. I've invested the time. It's called sunk costs. Sunk costs are important, but they can't be the final deciding, well, I've put all this in, I might as well go ahead. No. Just how much is your sunk cost, not how powerful is your sunk cost. What's in it for me, how I feel. What's in it for me, how I think. What's in it for me, what I plan to do. Okay? That's step one. Step two. What's in it for them if I feel this way? What's in it for them if I make this decision? What's in it for them if I walk away? It's a lot like stage fright. The greatest fear that people cover themselves all over with is being forced to speak in public. The metaphor, when you take it all the way back, is it is me stepping outside the cave to address the saber-toothed whatnots. And I don't know if it's their lunchtime. I don't know if they will eat me and I will die. That is the equivalent of speaking in public to whomever. Okay. But it's not about you. They didn't come for you. They didn't buy the ticket for you. They didn't get off the couch, put on pants, get in the car, drive through traffic, find parking, slog through snow, sit on a hard chair and face the front for you. They did it for them. They did it for them because all those decisions they made to get themselves into that hard chair facing the front was to fix something broken, unhappy, hungry, tired, alone in them. Your decision to go or not go, your decision to lag, your decision to blow it up and say, oh my gosh, there's just so many things and I don't know what to do. That's you only thinking about you. That's you looking for an exit. Let's talk about them. Life is not a spectator sport. It has never been and never will be. The fact that people choose to sit on their phone and do this is an avoidance tactic. It's a stalling tactic. It's a big deal that's getting in the way of living. It's a stalling tactic. These phones, very helpful on many levels. Also, colossal stalling tactic. Then I got this new phone, it's $1 billion. It does this. I can talk to a satellite, or I can look at a cat. Okay. That is resistance. That is unreadiness. That is fear of reward. It's a delaying tactic. It's not a big deal to have a phone to look at a cat. It's cool. It's not a big deal. So the question that we ask is, what's in it for them that I am providing the solution for? My project is bringing two things together to re-energize people. The unforgettable qualities that we possess that make us who we are, the unforgettable memories we have, the connections we make that give ourselves the rudder on our boat and the determination to get in that boat and head off in a particular direction. When we get in the boat and we look back at the dock and the little voice says, "Are we sure?" The only conversation the little voice is having is, what's in it for me? Can I really row that far? Is it really going to be worth it? I could stay home. I could stay in bed. I could stay under the bed. That's all me. That's what's in it for me. But if you told people you were coming and they're excited and what you're bringing to them is essential, then the hesitation, the resistance, the uncertain readiness, I don't know about the reward. We have to temper it. Balance in all things. We have to temper it with, how is their life going to be changed? What am I bringing that they can't bring? What am I doing that will pull them out of spectator and into participant? Am I the one with the boat? Are they ready to join me? What's in it for me is essential. So is what's in it for them. Why? Because we're not alone. No man's an island. We're all in this together. The current kerfuffle of people ruffling their feathers and okay, that's positioning. That's normal. I'm the new, I'm the new head of the pack, and I'm here, and I'm gonna stake my territory. And you watch these animals; they go around, they pee on everything, and all the other animals go, "Oh, geez, new guy in town." Um, did you see the new guy? No, I didn't need to see him. And so there's a shift in power. But when you shift it this way, it's going to come back because that's physics. So the big deal that we've created, the big deal that means so much, is, where are we headed? This amazing project that I've started that begins, the elements, the ingredients in this recipe are the unforgettable qualities that we are, that we represent, that we have, that we bring. And the purpose in bringing them, what the recipe is for, is confident, clear understanding that we have the tools and the capability and the skills to meet every moment and thrive. And that part of the project is called pivotry in motion. A pivot is a hard turn. That's a pivot. This, not so much. That's not a pivot. This is a pivot. Before we can physically do that, we have to have changed the way we think and the way we feel and the way we evaluate and value and prioritize the actions we are taking. My client's son, when he was back in school, while he was asleep, I think, his brain did a reset. His brain was saying, not so much. And he shifted. When he woke up in the morning, he was ready. He was already halfway out the door. And the rest of him said, where are you going? I got an idea. I'm going to change. I've already changed. And he did. He shifted gears. The going along to get along was no longer good enough. So the conversation I have when I'm working with clients and I'm talking about pivotry in motion is you have to reset this before you can reset this. You have to change your focus. You have to change the value you place before you can fully engage in the direction you're facing. We don't know how we do that because it's all done automatically. Big, scary creature comes toward you. We do one of two things. We get big. Have you seen videos? A bear comes running, and so the person can either run away and probably die, or they suddenly go, rah, and the bear goes, geez. Bear doesn't grasp. Probably the bear's got a better chance. The bear says, ooh, what was that? I think I'll retreat and think about it, and turns and runs away. Big dog, rah, 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 small yappy dog, rah, 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 big dog. I'll just look at the time. Okay. Resistance, readiness, reward. Pivotry in motion is automatically choosing the best part of us, the best attitude, the best mindset, the best focus, the best skill set to meet and master the moment. To meet it and say, watch this, and win. We are all blessed with this. Some of us are more aware of it. It doesn't mean we're smarter. I'm a military kid. I had to have a firm grasp on all the different parts of me about every 15 minutes. Because about every 15 minutes, it felt like my life changed. And I didn't know who to be. And I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time. I was 5. But I gradually realized it. You see people who work in sales. You see people who work a lot with the public. You see people who are, driving for a living and they're in heavy traffic. Truck drivers. Truck drivers know how to drive cautiously, and they know how to drive with bravado, and they know how to drive with confidence and care. Or they're not driving for long. They learn to adapt. Their resistance does not outweigh their readiness. Their cause and effect is very, very heavily developed, highly developed. If you ask them what they're doing, they may not know. They haven't thought about it. They're too busy not hitting that and avoiding this. But they're good at it. If all of a sudden something happens, the truck breaks down, or they have no money, or they get sick, or something goes wrong, they don't automatically know how to access all those reset skills. And if they don't know they can lose their confidence. And the reason this is so important, and the reason that I feel there's a need and a hunger for getting our confidence back, understanding how we do this, that has just blossomed during the pandemic. And all of a sudden, when everybody said, yay, we're back, we didn't know how anymore. We'd gotten out of the habit. People walked around saying, I can't wait till we get back to normal. The thing is, it wasn't the old normal to get back to because we had already gone a long way down a path and we had new knowledge that changed our definition of normal and we hadn't realized it. But military brat here is watching people doing what they're doing and saying, yeah, I got a fix for that. The things we can do are simple. Once we believe we can, we should, and we deserve the outcome. Once we can override resistance to uncertainty, second guessing our readiness, feeling deserving of the reward. So this part of the conversation that I'm asking myself and you, when we make it a big deal, well, I would, but I can't because, oh my God, you have no idea how this, that. If there is a big deal and it's real, absolutely that's a priority. Is it a big deal? Or are we hiding behind big deal because we don't really want to look at our uncertainty about resistance, readiness, and reward? How do we know the answers to that is the question. My resistance, my readiness, my reward, how I'm behaving, is that about me? Is that what's in it for me? Or am I making those decisions because it's about them? Because if it's not about them and we are ignoring them, then we have homework. We have homework. If we have made a promise and we don't show up, and them are waiting at the dock with their little suitcase in hand, looking for our boat, and they believe in us, then that's a stalling tactic. That is something that we do not need. We do not deserve. We deserve more. We deserve better. And so does them. So in this conversation that I'm having, oh, good morning, Warren. A lot going on. You know, Warren, as Chris says, good morning, Chris. As Chris says, what we have to do is keep our eye on the prize. We don't have to keep our eye on all the prizes. And this is part of this conversation. Thank you, Warren, for bringing this in. There's a lot going on. Okay. What we do is, if we say I can't handle it, and I'm looking at a pile of chainsaws, I'm probably right. So what I have to do is I have to pick the most immediate chainsaw and reach out for help with the others. As Chris says, reach out. Don't carry the burden alone. We were never meant to carry the burdens alone. We are tribal. We are group animals. We are in this together. Chris is very right. So the conversation today, in the midst of all the stuff, what's in it for me? What am I resisting? What is my readiness? What value am I placing on my reward? What's in it for them? Why are they excited? What are they looking forward to? What are they contributing for the outcome? My client's son wrote a letter And he spelled it out. All the things he was feeling that were positive, uncertain, and negative. And then he said to the people who are depending on him, I need to tell you how I'm feeling. He didn't say, this is how it's going to be. He said, we're in this together. And I need to tell you how I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it. And then I want us to talk about it. And he laid it all out. And the other people involved in the decision made their decisions based on their resistance, their readiness, and their definition of reward. And what happened was they came to a mutual understanding that was the product of my needs and theirs. What's in it for me and what's in it for them. Together they looked at what is resisting, what is pulling, what is making me feel cautious. They looked at the value of the readiness and whether it was just adrenaline and excitement. And then they weighed that by deciding what the real reward was. The immediate reward, the intermediate reward, and the big picture long-term reward. Pivotry in motion is an exercise in going to the mental, emotional, and physical gym, not to lose weight and get in shape. No, to get the skills back, to get the ease of navigation back, to make it simpler and less scary to make the choices we make. Why do we want to do that? Why do we need pivotry and motion skills? Because there are things in our lives that are unforgettable and we cherish them. And we want to make ourselves able to continue to cherish them. If somebody yells at us and threatens us, and we don't know how to put up a resistance, we don't have the tools, we haven't practiced, we don't know who we are and what we want and why we want it, we're very likely to say, okay, because we can't think of a reason to say not okay. Back off. If we feel ready to meet the challenge, we need to know why. We need to know what our readiness is in preparation for. We need to do the homework. We need to do the Pivotry calisthenics. Why? Because the outcome depends on it. At the end of the day, the outcome is the reward. And the reward, since we're not alone, is not simply all about me. The reward is not simply all about them. The reward is the balance. Because life is not a spectator sport. We're in it together. We're rowing the boat together. And the last thing I want to say about it is this. You know, in a boat, you know why they don't all row on one side? Do they go anywhere? No. Do they throw up after they get dizzy? Yeah. Is it exhausting? Mm-hmm. Do they look like an idiot? Yeah. So, yeah. Two sides. Balance in all things. Collaboration, cooperation, engagement, alignment, win. Just saying. So, weekend coming. We are in Lent. We are in a time of reassessing our values. We are in a time of saying, did we really need 3 scoops of ice cream? We're in a time of resetting our compasses, looking at the destination we've set, and rethinking the value. And that was why today I wanted to talk about the big deals, the big obstacles. Are they there, or did we place them? Do we know why? Is it a mountain that we are ready to climb? Or is it a convenient stalling tactic so we can stay home under the bed and hope it just goes away, erodes with time? Resistance, readiness, reward. What's in it for me? What's in it for them? I can't figure it out. Oh, get in touch. Get in touch. What is it you're saying, Warren? You've got too much on your plate. All the things you just listed, it's so much on your plate. You don't want to let people down. Just in closing, Warren, you don't want to let people down. Okay. Then the way to do that, the way to make sure that you're doing your best, is to say, I can't do it all by myself. I need help. And together, you can row the boat to the other side. No one was meant to do it all alone. That's why we have tribes. All right. I want to thank you, my lovelies. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for making these videos the amazing experience that they have become. I look forward to them every time, and I hope you do too. And I hope you are well. The weather is really just up, down, and sideways. The attitudes and the I'm walking here's are getting loud and rather annoying. And we have some health things going on. So you know what? Be good to you. Be good to you. You deserve it. Take care of you. It's not selfish. It is so that you are ready to be part of the team rowing the boat. You're not rowing it alone. So be good to you. You deserve it. And we need you. What's in it for us is that you're okay. And remember to hug your loved ones because they deserve it too. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week on Tuesday at 10 o'clock New York time. And I hope you'll join me. Until then,